Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about some special techniques that you can use when solving equations. The first technique we're going to be looking at is combining like terms. Remember, like terms are any terms that have the same variable or lack of variable raised to the same exponent. So in the case of this problem here, 10x plus 8 minus 6x plus 4 equals 20. 10x and 6x are both like terms. 8 and 4 are both like terms. Now I know you're probably thinking, hey, what about that 20? Good eye for you. Just remember that if I were to put a nice balancing separation line here, we only concern ourselves with like terms if they're on the same side of that line. We're not going to combine anything with this 20 right now. We're only going to combine things that are on this side of the equation. That being said, we have 10x minus 6x. 10 minus 6 is 4, so we have 4x. And we have 8 plus 4, which is 12. And that equals 20. Now that all of the like terms have been combined, we can go ahead and begin isolating the single variable. Start by doing the opposite of plus 12, which is minus 12. 20 minus 12 is 8. Then we'll divide both sides by 4. And apparently x equals 2. Now the best way to check this out, of course, is to plug it back into the original equation to see if it comes up with a true statement. So we're saying that 10 times 2 plus 8 minus 6 times 2 plus 4 should give us 20. That means we have 20 plus 8 minus 12 plus 4 should give us 20. This is going to be 28 minus 12 plus 4. Subtract 12 from 28 and you end up with 16 plus 4, and 16 plus 4 is 20, which is exactly what we wanted to get. So the answer is x plus 2. Now this slide has an equation where we're going to involve some fractions, but we're still just going to combine like terms. If you want to convert them into improper fractions right away, you can, or just leave it alone for now. It's up to you. But for the x's, we have 5 and 1/3 x, 2 and 2/3 x. Well, 2/3 plus 1/3 is 1, and 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 and 1 will give us 8x. Next we have 10 and 1/2 minus 9 without the half. So that's simply going to be a positive 1 and 1/2, which is going to equal 14 and 1/2. Next thing we need to do is go ahead and subtract 1 and 1/2 from both sides. 14 minus 1 is 13. 1/2 minus 1/2 is nothing. So we end up with 8x equals 13. Divide both sides by 8, and x is apparently 13 over 8. The next special method that I want to look at is the distributive property. You can always recognize when the distributive property is about to happen because you will see some addition or subtraction inside a set of parentheses with some number or symbol right on the outside of those parentheses. As I'm sure you remember, distributive property simply means we're going to multiply what's outside those parentheses to everything inside. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. And now we're going to bring in what we were just doing on the past 2 slides, combine like terms. Because 12 minus 4 is 8. And now we've got it as simplified as we can. We just need to isolate the variables. Subtract 8 from both sides. 4x equals 12. And then we divide both sides by 4 to find that x equals 3. Let's go ahead and check that just to make sure. We're saying that 4 times 3 plus 3 minus 4 is going to equal 20. 3 plus 3 is 6. 4 times 6 is 24. And 24 minus 4, absolutely, it's 20, exactly what we were looking for. So the answer is definitely x equals 3. So let's do another one. This time you see 2 sets of parentheses. So we are going to do the distributive property twice. But before we really get into that, I want you to notice something. This number 2. Do you see a sign in front of it? It says minus 2. Anytime you see a minus in this kind of situation, you want to treat it a lot like a negative sign. The same goes for this minus or negative 3. So as we distribute, we're going to do negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, and then negative 2 times negative 5. Negative times negative is going to be a positive 10. Do the same thing here. Negative 3 times x, that's minus 3x. And negative 3 times 2 is minus 6. Now there's this 6 over here we didn't do anything with, so we'll just go ahead and bring that down. And we have a plus 4 that we haven't done anything with yet either. So we'll bring that one down. And all of that should equal negative 8. And now we're back to where we started with combining like terms. Let's look at the x's first. We have negative 2x and negative 3x. Together, that's going to be negative 5x. And we've got quite a few numbers to combine. We do have a negative 6 and a positive 6. Those two are just going to cancel each other out. And we have a 10 and a 4 giving us 14. And all together, that's going to need to equal negative 8. Now that there are no longer any like terms, we can go ahead and subtract 14 to get negative 5x equals negative 22. And then divide both sides by negative 5. Since I'm running out of space there, I'll just put the answer over here. Negative divided by negative is positive. 22 and 5 don't have anything in common. So unless you're being asked to express it in the form of a mixed fraction, we can go ahead and leave our answer as x equals 22 over 5. And finally, we have the example where there is a variable on both sides. If you remember what we were just talking about for combining like terms, we're only concerned with what happens on one side of the equation. The reason for that is anytime you move something from one side of the equation to the other, it has to change signs when it changes sides. In a situation like this, you do get to choose if you want to move the variable to the left or move it to the right. Either way is correct. I'm going to go ahead and put it on to the left. Since there is a negative 5x here that I need to get rid of, we're going to add 5x to both sides of the equation. Notice that that negative became a positive. That's important. We're not really combining like terms. We're moving something from one side of the equation to the other. 3x plus 5x is 8x minus 7 equals 9. We can add 7 to both sides to get 8x equals 16. Divide both sides by 8 and x equals 2. I think that's correct. We've got some space and some time. Let's check it. We're saying that 3 times 2 minus 7 is the same as 9 minus 5 times 2. So here we have 6 minus 7 equals 9 minus 10. And both of those make negative 1. We did it absolutely correctly. So x does equal 2 in this case. And those are 3 special techniques that you can use when solving equations.